Mr. Mack-Poole, 3-minute history, Cominform and Comecon. Let's do this. So, what were the causes of Cominform and Comecon? What was Cominform and Comecon? And what are the consequences of Cominform and Comecon? Let's get started. Since Truman came to power in 1945, after the untimely death of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Stalin and Truman had essentially been at loggerheads, and their relationship in this superpower relations between the Soviet Union and America had got far worse. The Conan telegram is a good example, and the resultant Novikov telegram, the Iron Curtain speech by Winston Churchill in 1946 in Fulton, Missouri, were all symbols of a deterioration of the relationship between the Soviet Union under Stalin and America under Truman. However, when the Truman Doctrine was announced in 1947, Stalin was forced to act so that he could consolidate his power over the Eastern Bloc. Now, I do not doubt that Stalin would have done this anyway, but perhaps the roadmap towards consolidation over Eastern Europe was accelerated by Truman's hostile actions with the Truman Doctrine. So Stalin initiated Cominform first in 1947, and essentially what this was an attempt by Stalin to Stalinize all of the Eastern European countries and communist parties in all of Europe too. So what he did, he ensured that Stalinist policies were followed in these countries and that the communist parties there in those countries, i.e. in East Germany, in Poland, in Bulgaria, and so on and so forth, those Eastern Bloc countries would follow a Stalinist political model. A notable example of Cominform as a political tool would be in blocking martial aid to all Eastern Bloc countries. So all the countries which signed up to Cominform refused to accept martial aid. Now this was a great piece of consolidation for Stalin because it meant that Truman would not have any influence over those countries. Stalin wanted to stop dollar imperialism. Comecon in 1949 was a response to the Marshall Plan, and it aligned the communist planning methods of 5-year plans and collectivization in those Eastern Bloc countries. So Comecon ensured with 5-year plans that those Soviet bloc countries would accelerate their industrial production, and collectivization would take farm from rich landowners and give it back to the state so it could be shared accordingly. So what were the consequences? Well, really the consequence is that we get a harder border between East and West, and we can see flashpoints emerge during these policies. For instance, in 1948 to 1949, we see the Berlin blockade and airlift take place. So I would say that Cominform and Comecon represent an escalation in tensions rise, and we have a divided Europe behind an Iron Curtain.